So, one of the more significant changes in Game of Thrones is that the show chose to not include the Lady Stoneheart character from the books. And because this character was not included, at least two very important characters in Game of Thrones had very different stories than that of their book versions. So let's talk about Lady Stoneheart. Who is she, and what does she mean for other characters like Jaime Lannister and Brienne of Tarth? To quickly summarize, for show-only fans, Lady Stoneheart is a resurrected version of Catelyn Stark. In A Storm of Swords, after the Red Wedding, Arya has a dream that she is a wolf. But what is actually happening is Arya, like the other Starks, has unknowingly warged into the direwolf Nymeria. As Nymeria, she discovers Catelyn's body in the Green Fork River. As Nymeria, Arya pulls her mother's body out of the river, but a group of approaching men scare her off and Arya awakens from her quote-unquote dream. Now, in the epilogue of A Storm of Swords, we follow Merritt Frey, who is in the process of bringing a ransom payment to the Brotherhood Without Banners. This ransom is for the life of Peeta Frey. But when Merritt arrives with the ransom, he discovers that they have already killed Peter. They begin questioning Merritt and accuse him of participating in the Red Wedding. He denies this until a witness is brought before him. It is Catelyn Stark. She has been resurrected. Her face is ripped apart from when she began clawing at her face during the Red Wedding, and the wound from where her throat was slit impairs her ability to speak. Lady Stoneheart is a gruesome version of Catelyn Stark, and this version of Catelyn is dark and unforgiving, and she is on a quest for revenge over the Red Wedding. There's an important small detail during the Red Wedding in the book. The Lannisters send their regards. However, in the book, Roose Bolton actually says Jaime Lannister sends his regards. Now, I would argue that regardless of this distinction in the books, Lady Stoneheart would still be out for revenge against Jaime, so the distinction doesn't truly matter, but I can also see this being referenced in the long-awaited 6th book in the series, The Winds of Winter. Now, in A Dance with Dragons, after securing Riverrun, similar to the show, Jaime continues his quest to secure the rest of the Riverlands. Jaime is in Pennytree, just outside of Riverrun, when his forces capture Brienne, who has come to find him. Brienne claims she has found Sansa and that she is with the Hound, and Jaime is to come alone with Brienne to meet with the Hound to get Sansa. What Jaime does not know is that Brienne is lying. You see, Brienne has been on her quest to find Sansa, and in her journey, her and Podrick, as well as a few other characters, including Gendry, who we last saw in Arya's POV chapters in A Storm of Swords, who is now working as a smith at the Crossroads Inn, when they are confronted by a group of outlaws, including Biter and Roarg. This turns out to be a very brutal altercation for Brienne, and in Chapter 7 of A Feast for Crows, at the end, you'd be forgiven for believing that Brienne, perhaps, was killed during her fight with Biter. I go into this in a bit more depth in this video here, but what we learn in her next chapter is that Brienne is saved by the Brotherhood Without Banners. Specifically, Gendry kills Biter, then she's taken captive by the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood Without Banners have been commanded to bring Brienne before their new leader, which is Lady Stoneheart. Now, as Brienne has been given a royal letter signed by Tommen, and she also has Oathkeeper, these items are considered evidence by Lady Stoneheart and the Brotherhood, and proof that Brienne has betrayed her vows to Catelyn and is serving the Lannisters. Brienne, Podrick, as well as another one of their companions, Sir Hyle Hunt, have been ordered to be hanged. And a side note, Sir Hyle Hunt, who has been following Brienne to hopefully cash in a reward for also finding Sansa, or even lure Brienne into marrying him. Interestingly, Brienne intended to abandon Sir Hyle at the Crossroads Inn because he clearly has ulterior motives for searching out Sansa. But instead of Sir Hyle going his own way, he's now been wrapped up into an unfortunate situation here. Additionally, it doesn't look good for Brienne now that she has one of Randall Tarley's knights accompanying her, and Podrick is recognized as Tyrion's squire. Now, Lady Stoneheart does give Brienne a choice: be hanged or serve Lady Stoneheart and kill Jaime. This is a choice that Brienne is unwilling to make, so Lady Stoneheart orders that they all be hanged. Here's the final paragraph of Brienne 8. Brienne felt the hemp constricting, digging into her skin, jerking her chin upward. Sir Hyle was cursing them eloquently, but not the boy. Podrick never lifted his eyes, not even when his feet were jerked off the ground. If this is another dream, it is time for me to awaken. If this is real, it is time for me to die. All she could see was Podrick, the noose around his thin neck, his legs twitching, her mouth open. Pod was kicking, choking, dying. Brienne sucked the air in desperately, even as the rope was strangling her. Nothing had ever hurt so much. She screamed a word. It is when Brienne sees Podrick being hanged that she finally screams a word to save Podrick. But Brienne's chapter ends as well as her story in A Feast for Crows. As a reader, you are left to wonder until A Dance with Dragons and Jaime's only chapter, when Brienne does seek him out. So it appears that Brienne will fulfill this command to kill or capture Jaime for Lady Stoneheart. However, it is difficult to imagine that this is the path that she will take. But here is where we get to the most significant aspect of Lady Stoneheart and what she brings into the story for Brienne and Jaime. Brienne is not an oathbreaker. However, it is similar to the story of Jaime, where his vows are to protect the Mad King Aerys, and yet Jaime is ordered to kinslay his father by the king, as well as stand by as Aerys orders to have the city of King's Landing burned with wildfire. Brienne's honor, her oaths, and her values are colliding, and they are not entirely consistent with one another. At first read of her meeting Jaime with the lie that Sansa is being held by the Hound, you could consider this treachery if Brienne would fulfill the command from Lady Stoneheart. Yet she has sworn her sword to Catelyn Stark. Brienne has been called a traitor, yet as the reader of Brienne's story, we know that Brienne has done nothing that she deems dishonorable. She has been determined to fulfill her duty to Catelyn. And it is poetic in the darkest way that Catelyn, reincarnated as Lady Stoneheart, is the one who has condemned Brienne. It is here that Brienne is placed in a similar scenario as Jaime was when he was commanded to kill his own father and stand by as Aerys burned King's Landing. Now Jaime could fulfill his sacred vows to Aerys, but this would require Jaime to disregard his inner morality. The law of honor is not aligned with his conscience. Many would read Brienne as an objectively good character, yet what honor commands has become clouded with two choices, both of which would be at odds with her conscience. She cannot in good conscience kill Jaime, but she also can't allow Podrick to die. And she's having to decide which vow is superior. Brienne begins her story as a character that believes the right thing to do is to fulfill her oaths. Yet she now feels that she must break one vow to fulfill another. This is an important dilemma that she never truly faces in the show. Now, the right thing to do, that would be consistent with Brienne's values that we've experienced as the reader of her character, is for her to find a way to save both Jaime and Podrick, and perhaps that would require her to kill Lady Stoneheart, the resurrected version of Catelyn Stark, whom Brienne has sworn to protect and give her life for if need be. I believe this makes a much more complex and layered plot than what Brienne is faced with in Game of Thrones. And as for Jaime, we have followed Jaime's story throughout A Storm of Swords and A Feast for Crows, reconnecting with who his character was when in his heart he felt he must save the people of King's Landing by killing Aerys, dishonoring himself in the process. It was the objectively right thing to do, and he's been punished for it ever since. And so they call him Kingslayer, and to shield himself, Jaime wore a figurative mask and acted in a way consistent with a man dishonored. Jaime has been punished and criticized for doing what he believed was right. So it is not until now, after losing his hand, and then we see him try to save Brienne from the bear pit in A Storm of Swords, and being confronted with the truth that Cersei has been manipulative and unfaithful to him, saving Tyrion, attempting to take control of Riverrun without harming any Tullys in the process, and fulfilling his vow to Catelyn to not harm the Tullys. Jaime is trying to become Golden Hand the Just. Jaime wants to become a person of honor and goodness, and through A Feast for Crows, he believes he is doing the right things. He believes he is doing his duty in a way that is objectively honorable. It is why he armed Brienne to seek out Sansa Stark. He wanted to fulfill his oath to Catelyn. And yet, Lady Stoneheart has ordered Brienne to organize Jaime's death. There's a couple things here with this. Will Jaime feel betrayed by Brienne? But also, this will bring us back to Jaime being punished again when he believes he's been doing the right things. He saved King's Landing and was condemned. He's tried to fulfill his oath to Catelyn, and yet Lady Stoneheart has ordered his death. This is a much more complex dilemma than just choosing between Cersei and traveling north to protect Winterfell like we got in the show. However, I do believe that Jaime and Cersei's story is not yet completed. Some believe Jaime may be killed by Catelyn, aka Lady Stoneheart, but I do not believe this will be true. I believe this will be the biggest moment in Jaime's life since he killed the Mad King, and depending on how Jaime survives Lady Stoneheart, I believe this will shape the character for whenever he is reunited with Cersei. The one theme with Jaime is the redemption arc, and while I do believe that Jaime was redeemed in Game of Thrones when ultimately he fought to protect Winterfell, and as far as honor and reputation, that could represent redemption. But I believe there's more to Jaime than just what anyone else thinks of him. The true redemption arc is what Jaime believes of himself, and for Jaime, that's very much tied to his relationship with Cersei. You see, I'm not critical of Jaime and Brienne's story in Game of Thrones for where they ended based on the story in the show, but I do believe that Lady Stoneheart offers these characters much more exploration and gives them so much more depth. And I also believe George R. R. Martin sees Lady Stoneheart as essential to delivering the themes about morals and identity, among others. Here's what George has said about the omission of Lady Stoneheart in Game of Thrones. In the book, characters can be resurrected. After Catelyn is resurrected as Lady Stoneheart, she becomes a vengeful, heartless killer. In the 6th book, I still continue to write her. She is an important character in the set of books. Keeping her character is the change I most wish I could make in the show. For George's vision for the story, I believe Lady Stoneheart is vital. While maybe the plots could go on without her, the themes and character development is what makes these plots into a compelling story. And I believe Brienne and Jaime's stories will be greatly enriched by Lady Stoneheart if we ever do get the Winds of Winter. And if you're interested in more about Brienne or Jaime, go ahead and check out one of these videos.